What's going on, everybody? You got Tone here, back with some more Draft League content, this time bringing you guys my draft analysis for the inaugural season of the SDA, the Seoul Do Association, in my first ever Gen 8 Wi-Fi standard draft league that I'll actually be able to upload, and I'm really looking forward to this season as I'm finally able to have the ability to upload, get some Wi-Fi content on my channel for the first time in Generation 8 for standard format. I'm already doing that for Little Cup, and I figured now that I have the ability to record and upload those battles, why not try to get my hands back into doing some standard draft league format. I hope you guys are looking forward to this season as much as I am. Like I said, it's the very first season of this brand new draft league, and I'm very excited about the team that I ended up drafting for this league. I'm looking forward to some amazing battles with a bunch of great people, that some of which I've played, some of which I've yet to play, but I do know somewhat well. Links to every single coach that's taking part in the inaugural season of the SDA will be in the description down below. Be sure to check them out, give them a follow, and let me guys know what you think of my team for this first season of the SDA. I am looking forward to this team so much. I'm not gonna lie. So with that out of the way, I'm just going to jump right into this. So first and foremost, there's only 12 coaches taking part in this inaugural season of the SDA, meaning that every single team is going to be stacked, loaded with threats on top of threats, and it's really going to be pretty tough. But at the same time, that also means I get access to some pretty solid mons of my own right. So with that out of the way, jumping into how this draft worked, as you see, every team is given a budget of 1,200 points. This is a points-based draft where every team is given 1,200 points to draft a team of 11 Pokemon. Yes, you have to draft 11. You can't draft any less than that. You have to get 11. A little bit bummed by the fact that I had to get 11, but I can understand the logic behind it, basically just to get some more lower tier mons onto teams and make people have to adjust their budgets and make them spend their points more accordingly. But regardless, the draft order came out, and normally I'm accustomed to drafting in towards the middle or towards the back end of the draft. So luck, as in a sort of a somewhat crazy twist of fate, I ended up snagging the number 1 pick in the draft, which is ridiculous because in the almost 5 years now I've been doing draft league format, and I have never had the number 1 pick in a standard draft league format. I've had the number 1 pick before in Little Cup format, but never in standard. I think the highest I've ever had for number 1 was number 4. Other than that, though, I had the first pick in the draft, and I was ecstatic and at the same time skeptical because I didn't know what to take number 1. I've never been in this position before, so after asking around in different servers that I'm in, getting other people's opinions on what they felt was the number 1, if they felt was the best pick to grab number 1, and seeing as though it's something I've yet to really use that often, I've helped other people try it out. But with the number 1 pick in the Seoul Do Association, your Miami Malamarlins ended up selecting Dragapult with the number 1 pick. I have hardly used this Pokemon. I've prepped against it. It's never fun because the speed tier is ridiculously high at 142, and I'm not really used to drafting or known for drafting relatively fast Pokemon. My style of play is more bulky offensive balance, and having something to like Dragapult right away, number 1 overall pick, is pretty doggone amazing. Base 142 speed, good mixed attacking stats. It is relatively versatile, and it gives me a fast momentum grabber, good typing in Ghost and Dragon, solid abilities with Infiltrator to bypass screens and Substitute, can be clear body to negate any stat drops, which is actually pretty clutch. And like I said, very versatile with the fact that it can Dragon Dance. It gives me a fast momentum grabber with U-Turn, Shadow Ball, Hex, Will-O-Wisp, Draco Meteor. It gets a wide variety of coverage options too. It is a bit relatively weak though in some certain matchups, but regardless, having something like Dragapult right away with the #1 pick, I felt like it would set my team up really nicely. So how I wanted to go about building this team. It did cost me 200 points though, but understandable considering what Dragapult can do in the league format. Some people may say it's overrated for #1, but at the same time, I knew it wasn't coming back to me, and the opportunity of me actually getting to try it again would probably be few and far in between. So why not try it out now? So that is the Dragapult. Now, because I had the first pick in the draft, I had to wait a while for round 2. But it does give me the beneficial fact that I do have the wheel pick, and on my round 2 pick, I ended up snacking up a mon that I've used relatively quite a bit in Generation 8, and that Pokemon is Cinderace. Now, Cinderace does not get access to Libero, it's Blaze only, but regardless, Cinderace is still a fantastic Pokemon. Pairs okay with the Dragapult. It does have the ability to check certain fairy types, as it does resist fairy type attacks, does get Gunk Shot for those fairy typings. It gives me another momentum grabber with U-Turn. Core Change is also great just to have the ability to swap the effects of Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, Spikes, that sort of stuff onto my opponent's side of the field. And just having another potential momentum grabber, and it's fairly bulky. It's actually bulkier than expected. Like, I don't have the stats up, but Cinderace can be run bulky, and it can still be effective in that role. And it's actually one of my favorite sets to run on Cinderace, a bulkier Cinderace, just because of the fact that it can still hit hard and still be a great pivot, which is primarily what I hope to use this mon as in a primarily role. Choice Band is also not out of the question, but regardless, Cinderace just felt like a great pairing for Dragapult, in the sense that they can pivot in and out of each other's checks and keep up the momentum for my team. So it felt really appropriate to have Cinderace on this draft. So that's my round 2 pick in Cinderace. Moving on, round number 3, since I had the wheel right after Cinderace, I ended up snacking up Mandibuzz. Now, the reasoning for Mandibuzz is, well, first and foremost, it's a very solid, bulky Pokemon, giving me a Dark type and a Flying type, but more importantly is the fact that Mandibuzz is one of the best responses to Dragapult. So I figured the other reasoning for getting Mandibuzz is, instead of having to prep against Mandibuzz, which my Dragapult can't really break past without being like Specs Thunderbolt or something like that, why not use it? So, Mandibuzz is just a very solid, bulky Pokemon in general. It gives me a Defogger, it gives me Knockoff, another momentum grabber with U-Turn, and it's just a fairly solid Pokemon overall. It's a bit passive in some situations, but the passiveness is offset by the fact that it does give momentum, it does give me Defog. Knockoff is a great move in general, just for getting rid of items. And it allows me to get like sort of slow, bulky pivots if I want to go that route. Give me a slow, bulky pivot in case I can want to preserve my Dragapult or my Cinderace. It gives me that solid backbone in the back to words. It gives me something bulkier to pivot into and then get momentum out into my other faster, somewhat frailer mons, which is the other reasoning behind getting Mandibuzz. Typing is fantastic, as I already talked about, and having one of the best Dragapult responses on my team makes my opponent's prep a little bit harder against my Dragapult, knowing I have one of the best checks to it already on my draft. And really excited to try out Mandibuzz again. I used it quite a bit in a few teams back in Generation 7. Didn't use it yet in Generation 8, but the fact that Heavy Duty Boots is also a thing, meaning that it won't be taking 25% from Stealth Rock, meaning I can defog a bit more freer. I can pivot a lot more with a lot more aggressiveness if I want to, so there's that to consider. But regardless, that is my Mandibuzz. Now, moving on to round number 4, I had 2 options in this slot, and I was actually torn between these 2 picks, because if one was gone, I'd just get the other, but they both fell to me in round number 4, and for my round 4 pick, I had 2 options, like I said. I ended up going with the one Pokemon I've actually never tried, and I had to prep against at some point, and that is Urshifu Rapid Strike. So I got Urshifu Rapid Strike, round number 4. It was either grabbing this or picking up Keldeo with round number 4. I felt Urshifu Rapid Strike was the better option, just because of the fact that it does give me a hard-hitting physical attacker to pair up with Dragapult. They can sort of wear on each other's checks and counters fairly well. It gives me another momentum grabber. I have 4 U-turn Mons. My first 4 picks, all 4 Mons have U-turn. All of them can get momentum, can pivot in and out. And I really wanted to try out Urshifu Rapid Strike, just for the fact that, well, Urshifu in general would have been great, but Rapid Strike particularly, just because of the fact that I've never used it before. I did play a little bit with Urshifu Single Strike. It was a really fun one to try out, but Rapid Strike still sounded fun as well, just because of the fact that having a fighting type was pretty important. It also benefits from the slow momentum from Mandibuzz. If I can pivot, get in my Urshifu for free, and then fire off some pretty hard-hitting Searching Strikes, which always crit. Close combat, U-turn for momentum, Aqua Jet for priority, can be bulk up, gets Thunder Punch for bulky waters. So yeah, really, really good Mon in general. I really just wanted to try Urshifu Rapid Strike, and I felt like it felt like it fit the team fairly well in terms of how I was building my team. My team is, like, at the moment very momentum oriented for the most part. But I'm really excited to try Urshifu Rapid Strike, as I've not had the chance to use it. I've had to prep against it in mocks against Matt O'Shea, and it really wasn't fun. To be perfectly honest, I had to prep super hard to not get overwhelmed by that thing during those mock battles, and I'm actually finally happy to try it out and prep with it as opposed to prepping against it. But that is Urshifu Rapid Strike. Moving on to round number 5, picking up one of my favorite Pokemon to use in the format, and that is Gardevoir. Gardevoir, Jesus Christ, how many times have I used Gardevoir in the past? I swear, like, Gardevoir, I've already got some flack for how much I've loved Gardevoir in the format, because it's one of those Mons that you see it, you prep against it, but Gardevoir is so incredibly versatile for a round 5 pick, and it's probably my second favorite fairy type to use in the format, with first being Clefable. Like, it's actually a toss-up now between those two, but Gardevoir is just so good. It can be Choice Specs, it can be Choice Scarf, it can be bulky with Assault Vest, it can do Wish Support, it can be Trick Room. The amount of things that Gardevoir can provide for a team is so gosh darn limitless that I had to snag up Gardevoir for this team. And of course, it gets Teleport now, so I don't know how often I'm going to click it or bring it, but I have another potential momentum grabber in that case. It gives me Healing Wish, a Psychic and Fairy typing, and Trace is a great ability. It's one of the better abilities in the format, just to be able to copy your opponent's ability, use their potential offensive ability against them, take advantage of it, and yeah, it's just so ridiculously good. I cannot speak enough about how much I love using Gardevoir in Draft League format, and hopefully it can put in that same work that I know it can do from previous times that I've used this Pokemon. I absolutely just love this thing. But moving on now, that aside, to my round 6 pick, and I ended up snagging up Vikavolt with my round 6 selection. Vikavolt gives me another bulky pivot. It gives me an option for a Sticky Web. It gives me a Bug and Electric typing. So another slow momentum grabber with Volt Switch. A more offensive bulky pivot as opposed to Mandibuzz, which is basically just a pivot, so to speak. Vikavolt is one of those Pokemon where you come in, it can eat a hit, you get to fire off a powerful Volt Switch, get slow momentum into one of my breakers, which is absolutely great. And just having the other option for Sticky Web is also really, really nice if I really want that added speed control, which I kind of don't really need because of my current speed tiers. I have the Dragapult, I have a Cinderace, I have Priority with my Urshifu, so I don't know how much of Sticky Web is going to come into play, but I do have the option to bring it on Vikavolt. I did draft Vikavolt in the past. I didn't really feel like I utilized it well enough back then, and I'm hoping to redeem myself with it now, especially considering I feel like Vikavolt just got a whole lot better because of the addition of heavy duty boots, so it doesn't have to take stealth rock damage. So I can bring it in, doesn't have to worry about rocks. I can still act as the bulky pivot longer in the match, and it can still provide some offensive momentum or provide offensive pressure to my opponent's team and break stuff down for the rest of my team. So yeah, really, really happy to try out Vikavolt again, try to redeem myself from failed attempts in the past. So moving on, round number 7, I ended up drafting Caparaja, and this one was a little bit, I don't want to say it was an iffy pick, but I knew for a fact I wanted a Steel type, and at this point in the draft, I had no rockers. And I realized that all the good Steel types were essentially gone at this point. I figured if I wanted to get a rocker and I wanted a Steel type, I would want it to be a sort of offensive tank, so to speak. Granted, it wasn't really the first. Caparaja wasn't the first Pokemon that came to my mind right away because of the points. Like, I really wanted to make sure I had enough points to get to fill out the rest of my team. But considering what was left, I did have the option to pick up Steelix. I was debating on that because I didn't have a ground type, but I felt like in some matchups, I feel like Steelix's lack of offense per se would be hindered a bit. Caparaja is a little bit less so. Like, they still function somewhat similarly, but essentially being a Steel type that's not overwhelmed by like water types felt a whole lot better in my mind, and being that Caparaja is a more offensive Steel type as opposed to Steelix, I felt more comfortable picking up Caparaja as opposed to Steelix, just for the fact that it does have access to better coverage options. I feel it does have 2 great abilities with Sheer Force and Heavy Metal, so I can either boost my attacks with Sheer Force or apply more damage with Heavy Metal, with Heavy Slam, Heat Crash. Does get other options like Power Whip. I felt like I wanted a Steel type that wasn't hindered by not being able to hit certain other Steel type Pokemon, like stuff like Corviknight, stuff like Celesteela. For the most part, that was kind of my thought process, and I felt like having an offensive Stealth Rocker that could actually apply more pressure benefited my team more than having something like Steelix. Granted, it still could have been a 50-50 either way, but I felt like Caparaja just felt a little bit better for my team as having that a Stealth Rocker that felt a lot more offensive in nature and can still apply some heavy amount of pressure to my opponent's team. And more importantly, like I said, I just wanted that Stealth Rocker that's a hard-hitting attacker, and it's not that doesn't feel like all that passive in certain matchups. So that's why I went Caparaja over something like Steelix. Still happy to try it out though. Caparaja was actually one of my favorite Gen 8 Pokemon because I like the design, I like the teal color and all that stuff, and for the most part, really happy to try it out. Hopefully things go well for me in that regard. But moving on, round number 8, and my points at the moment are limited. I only have 180 points left at this point for 4 more Pokemon. But I did have some holes I needed to fill out. So first off, I picked up Vileplume with my round 8 pick just because of the fact that it gave me a grounded poison type, which I didn't have. It gave me a grass type, which I didn't have as well. So I have that a more sturdier water check. And on top of that, I really want to try out Vileplume. Vileplume just felt like super underrated, especially considering Strength Sap is busted for the most part. Sleep Powder is also really nice to have. Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Moon Blast, if I feel like I want to run that for certain fighting types. It's just a really solid overall defensive pivot because they can be run physically defensive, especially defensive, can be surprisingly fast if I want to run like a more offensive Vileplume set, which is plausible because of the fact that it does have some decent stats to pull off a potential offensive set with like Growth. And I can even be cheeky and run something like Corrosive Gas to get rid of my opponent's items because it does have that option. But overall, Vileplume just filled some needed roles on my team: a Grass type, a Ground and Poison type, and a overall general water resist and fighting check for the team. So that is my Vileplume. Then with 3 picks left and only 100 points, my last 3 picks are a little bit more iffy, so to speak, but they did fill out roles that I felt were necessary. So first off, round number 9, picked up Marowak for 40 points because my team had no ground type, and I felt that of all the mons that were left that I could grab that was a ground type, Marowak felt like it was the one that wasn't the most omnipresent. Like, it wasn't that hindered by its abilities. It is kind of hindered by the fact that it does somewhat rely on its Stick Club item. If it gets knocked off, then I'm in a bit more trouble because I won't be hitting as hard, but it does get Sword Stance. It gives me another Stealth Rocker, and it does get a good wide variety of coverage options outside of Earthquake and Boomerang. It gets Stone Edge, Thunder Punch, Fire Punch. I wish it got Ice Punch. It gets Ice Beam. I don't know why. But, like I said, but the main reasoning is I needed a ground type. I wanted to have that electric immunity on the team without relying solely on my Vileplume to fill that role of an electric check. And I wanted another Stealth Rocker outside of Caparaja. So Marowak just felt like the best available fit for my team. So that is the Marowak. Round number 10, I ended up snacking up Unpheasant, and truth be told, Unpheasant wasn't really my pick. I originally had wanted Persian for my round 10 pick, but Persian actually got sniped, which surprised the crap out of me. I was not expecting anyone to look at Persian, but it got taken, and I had to readjust my strategy, and I ended up stacking up Unpheasant. While Unpheasant does give my team 2 flying types, it does give me a normal type Pokemon, so I do have an actual Ghost immunity. Granted, I already have one of the best Ghost resist on my team, with being that Mandibuzz. But it also gives my team a more offensive flying type Pokemon, which Mandibuzz really isn't. It gives me another Defogger, it gives me U-Turn. Its coverage is kind of limited outside of just Brave Bird and U-Turn, but regardless, Super Luck can come in clutch if I do get the ability to fire off, if I do get the ability to get some crits, some additional chances to get a critical hit. I will take that. Granted, hopefully it won't come down to that, but there really wasn't much else to grab in the sense of 40-point mons that kind of fit my team, so I kind of had to double up with this Unpheasant pick. Not saying that Unpheasant is going to be bad. I could actually bring it to at least a game or two just to kind of show what it can do, but I'm kind of not really expecting much out of it. But at the same time, though, it does have some merit being an offensive flying type, a more offensive flying type than Mandibuzz, so I can't really knock it for that. So yeah, that is the Unpheasant. And then lastly, I only had 20 points left. And with the last pick on my team, I ended up snagging up Corsola because why not? There was nothing in 20 points that I was really looking forward to getting, but I had to get something at 20 points. And of everything that was available in 20 points, Corsola was literally the only one that I actually felt like could actually come to a battle. Mainly because of the fact that it's a sturdier... It's a Stealth Rocker with recovery. And on top of that, it also gets access to regenerators, so it can act as a better flying resist than Copperajah in some matchups. If I feel the need to bring Stealth Rock and be more of a supporter, sturdier rocker, then I can bring Corsola for that role. Other than that, though, Corsola is a bit passive. That much is undeniable. But, like I mentioned, there was nothing else in worth 20 points that I felt comfortable using, so I figured, why not Corsola? I mean, like I said, it also gives me a rock type, which I didn't really have anyway, and a bulky water. Not saying that Urshifu can't be bulky, but something with natural bulk recovery, can scald stuff, can get up rocks, can heal its, can get regenerator, can get its natural cure and all that stuff. So it's not totally a loss with Corsola. Like, it can do something. I feel like it can do something anyway, but regardless, that is the team for the Miami Malamarlins for Season 1 of the Soul Dew Association. What do you guys think of this team, and who do you think will be the kill leader for the Miami Malamarlins? And exactly how far do you think we're going to go? Will we make it to the finals? Will we win that championship? Who knows? For the most part, we are going to be playing every single coach in the league once in a sort of UCL type format, so it will be 11 weeks plus the playoffs. So with that out of the way, hope you guys did enjoy my draft analysis. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button. Let me know what you guys think about the team. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to using this team. It's kind of outside of my general playstyle. Like, it has a lot of Pokemon with momentum on it that I'm not really accustomed to grabbing right away, or grabbing a whole lot of momentum Pokemon, but I figured break out of my shell, go a different direction, and I still have some fun mons that I've used in the past. So yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy, and until next Monday for week number 1 of the SDA, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.